A friend of mine asked if I could make a video describing a step-by-step process of how to move through difficult emotional textures and identities, moving from being caught up in beliefs of limitation and separation and moving to the felt sense, the felt knowing of what we are, moving from distortion to truth. So I'm not sure what will come through, but the intention is to offer some sort of supportive framing of that process here today. There are many ways of navigating this, of course. Um, the way that I most often use with clients is a combination of self-inquiry and non-dual inquiry and somatic mindfulness with an emphasis on kind of reorienting or reintroducing the qualities that you could say the energy is searching for, not the belief, not the sense of separation, this sense of an imaginary sense of self, not what that's looking for, because that's an endless cycle. The difficulty and resistance, the dilemmas of the imaginary separate self are inherently unsatisfiable. But the energies themselves that have been overlaid with concepts, with cognitive distortions and maps of what this is, of what we are, you could say that they are searching for something. And what they're searching for is this remembering, this integration into, obviously what's already the case, these truer qualities of ourselves that are always present, but these energies are kind of distortions of. Um, so what do I mean by that? So for a good example is when we're caught up in the energies of fear and anger, right? Fear and anger, when explored with patience, curiosity, and compassion, what they're searching for, what they're asking for in their intensity, this sense of urgency that they seem to carry in their appearance, is the quality of compassion. Compassion is a true quality of awareness, consciousness, awakeness, true nature. And these energies of fear and anger yearn to yearn to come back to, so to speak, to be reintegrated into this quality of compassion. So if you feel into the emotional quality of any energy that we're experiencing, you can feel into this the non-dual quality that they are seeking in their in their intensity. And an easy way of discovering what the quality that they're yearning for is asking this question of, what does this need? What does it feel like this energy needs? Right. So, but the answer to that question is not always clear when we're super caught up in the narrative around it. So if we're caught up in the narrative of fear or the narrative of anger, it's not as clear what the energy needs, because our default is to try to resolve what the identity is searching for. Right. Um, so with fear, it might be, I need this to change. I need security. I need safety. I need this to be different. With anger, it could be, again, I need this to be different, or I need to be validated. I need to be respected. I need to be um, seen as right. These kinds of ideas. And while there's an aspect of sincerity within them, of course, those needs, that dilemma that they operate from, isn't resolvable, because ultimately those positions, those beliefs, the assumptions that the narrative of fear and anger operate from serve to reinforce the belief in separation, serve to reinforce the identity of this separate self that experiences happening to and for. And so, if we find ourselves caught up in those narratives, what do we do? So, first, recognize that what's caught up in the narrative can't be the narrative, right? What's caught up in self can't be the separate self, because the separate self is illusory. It's not actually there. So, what is hearing these words and what's experiencing the textures of fear or anger or whatever the energy is, and whatever the narrative that seems to be accompanying it is, can't be the separate self, because the separate self is imaginary. So that's where we start. No matter what the experience seems to be, we must begin by recognizing that it's not possible for the separate self to be experiencing this intense experience. The separate self can't hear a sound. Separate self can't watch a video. Separate self can't eat a sandwich. Separate self can't do anything. The story of a separate self can only appear and be believed in, but it's not a separate self that's believing in the story. But something is, right? And so, what's believing in this story is true nature, because there's nothing else, right? So, whether we call it consciousness, awareness, awakeness, the soul, unicity, being, whatever you want to call it, right? This whole, complete, unified field that's inherently boundless, infinite and eternal, vibrant, alive, that's animating every appearance and awareness. That's what has to be caught up. That's what has to be hearing these words. That's what has to be experiencing the appearance of an emotional texture, a belief, the appearance of the body. So we start there with what's actually the case. So, given that its true nature, its awakeness, I'll use that term, awakeness that's aware of and experiencing this aspect of itself, which is this emotional texture, this narrative that it's caught up in. And what do I mean when it's caught up? When I say that it's caught up in, I mean that it's misidentified with that story. It's believing that it's this separate self, that the emotional texture, that the narrative, that the experience is in reference to, right? So we start with recognizing, even if it feels like it's a self that's experiencing this, it can't be true. It has to be awakeness. It has to be true nature that's experiencing. It must be experiencing that's experiencing. Right? No matter how much it seems like that's not the case. So, given that it's true nature that's experiencing, let's look closer at the belief that we're caught up in. So, start with inquiring into who is it that's experiencing this? Who is it that's caught up in this belief? Given that there's no separate self, who is it that's caught up in this belief? Once it feels clearer that it's not the separate self that's caught up in the belief, then we look closer at the belief. Is it really true that this belief is about me, about what I am? If the fixation is, this should be different, right? Is it really true that awakeness needs this to be different? Is it really true that awakeness needs to control and manage life in order to be okay? Is it really true that awakeness isn't good enough? Is it really true that awakeness is deficient? And so if we meet this process with patience, curiosity, and compassion, we should start to feel the the attachment, the sense of being tangled in this belief, the sense of being caught up in the belief to loosen, right? Should start feeling like there's a little bit more space between the belief and what we are. And so maybe we can tell that, okay, so this belief, these thought patterns are actually within me, they're arising within me. They're not happening to me, they're not about me, they're appearing within me. And the same can be said about the emotional texture, the this energy of fear or anger or whatever the experience is. And same goes with the physical sensation. Maybe there's a sense of contraction in the chest or the throat or the shoulders. This sensation is also appearing within me, within what I am. And so once we start kind of relating to these textures, the thoughts, the emotions, the sensations, in a way that's truer than taking the position of separation, then we can start to explore the actual somatic experience that's that seems to be contributing to the intensity, the discomfort, right? So we perhaps let's say that the sensation is in the chest, right? That's accompanied with um, the narrative that we were caught up in previously. And so we just bring attention to that sensation and see, is it true that this sensation is actually about the fear, the story of fear, the story of anger? Is that actually in the sensation, in the experience, the felt knowing, the direct experience of what's here? Is it that there's fear in the sensation, or that there's just the narrative arising and the sensation is also arising? Exploring with these kinds of questions, all the while staying with the sensation as best we can, not going up into thinking, just staying with the felt sense. Now, if it's difficult to just focus on the sensation itself, start with more surface level explorative questions like, if the sensation had a shape, what shape is the sensation? Does it have a color? Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it moving? Is it still? Bring a sense of curiosity to these characteristics of the sensation, the ways that we could describe the sensation. And once it feels like attention has settled more into the sensation and is less caught up in returning to thought to understand the experience, then we can ask questions like, is there a center to the sensation? Can we find an edge to the sensation? Exploring what the felt sense of experience is actually demonstrating about the situation. What's actually here, rather than what are the interpretations about what's here. Now, it's possible that in this exploration and moving from thinking to the felt knowing of experience, the direct experience itself, that whatever upset we were experiencing earlier, and again, who am I talking about when I say we were experiencing? Talking about awakeness, awareness, consciousness, true nature, right? I'm not talking about the body. I'm not talking about the mind. I'm talking about the truth of what we are, beingness itself. So it's possible that in this exploration, that the intensity of what we were experiencing before has lessened. And if that's the case, that's great. You know, the point is to explore, to look closer at experience and be with experience, be with our expression as experience without relating to it through imagination. But if it still feels intense, if there is still this sense of urgency, then we ask, these questions of what does this need? What does this emotion need? What does this sensation need? What does the experience need? In truth, experience itself simply needs attention. It just needs to be seen, given space, given time, because attention is love, right? You've probably heard that before. But it's true. We are love and attention is love, focused awareness, right? So, sensation most of the time simply needs attention, direct attention without going back into thought and thinking about the experience. But the emotional quality can invite a different kind of resolution. In feeling into this, the quality of what the emotional flavor of the experience is holding. Again, not the narrative, the experience, the felt experience. Then we inquire in the way that I presented at the beginning of the video of what does this need? And we just listen. Keep attention on the sensation, on the emotional texture. And ask, what does this need? And listen. Don't think about what it needs. Don't try to figure it out. Just listen. What does this need? And with patience, an answer will come. It may not be clearly expressed in thought, but there can be a deeper knowing and intuition of what is being asked for. Like I said earlier with the example of fear and anger, often those textures are searching for compassion, for the qualities of tenderness, love, embrace, right? They just want to be seen and held. Fear and anger are very closely related to vulnerability. And the mind will want, this change out there, quote unquote, to feel a sense of security and okayness in here, so to speak. But that's merely a way of keeping the illusion of separation alive. But when we meet the experience integratively, with embrace, with love, with immersion, right? With not needing the experience to be different. With just, a wanting to hold space for what's here. To respond rather than react. Usually we'll encounter these, a sense of what the non-dual wholeness oriented non-resistance based quality is being searched for. And once we have a sense of what that is, then we just offer it. Well, let's say we stumble upon the recognition that the energetic experience wants compassion. And we offer it in whatever way feels right. You may say, it's okay. It's okay to be here. I care that this is difficult. I'm sorry that you're suffering. You can be here as long as you need. Let me hold you, right? Offering what it's searching for. And, it's not a perfect process, but much of the time, either in giving the experience, the energetic textures, time and attention and space, the felt sense will kind of level out. It will feel less intense and dissonant. And maybe some sort of recognition will bubble to the surface. Will be some sort of, oh, I see. Or just, okay, that's it. That's all it was needed. Right? But you'll be able to feel it in your experience, once the process has rounded out, you know, we've given the energies the time and attention that they needed. These expressions of ourself have needed. So, and then when that's the case, we just, move on. Explore further what we're being called towards, what we're being asked to do, how we're being invited to serve. So I hope that was helpful. We'll see when the next time I'll do a video is. It seems to be that the writing is more accessible than um, giving a video, but who knows? It seems to be that um, there's the ability to respond when somebody in my circle expresses a need or a curiosity. So perhaps it will continue to unfold that way. All right. Well, hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And if anything comes up, you're more than welcome to reach out, um, send me a message and email. I'm happy to offer support and guidance in any way that I can. So thank you.